This is my first time ever on a cruise ship ever in my life. And to say that we're getting spoiled here, I think is a bit of an understatement. Look at this room. This is ridiculous. There's a king-size bed in here. There's a couch. There's a chair. There is a bar with all of the essentials that is included in the suite. Closet. Ensuite bathroom. Fantastic looking shower with view to the outside. Robes, which remind you what a rock star you are. Record player. Full-size balcony with a hammock. Did I mention I think we're getting a little bit spoiled here? Amazing. This room is easily bigger than the last room that I just stayed at in Miami, and this is on a boat. This is insane. This suite is one of the Rockstar suites aboard the Virgin Voyages cruise. This boat is called the Scarlet Lady. This boat is amazing, and this is just the room. There is lots more to see. As part of the spoiling the life out of us, the Rockstar Suite package that we've been generously gifted comes with a $250 bar tab as well as access to Richard's rooftop. That's what this deck is right here. Private access rooftop. Richard as in Richard Branson. $250 bar tab. I'm on the iced latte for right now, but I'm sure it won't be long before partaking in the other beverages. But just taking it all in for now.
The first ever cruise meetup game, cruise meetup. The first ever meetup game tables to be played on a cruise is happening right now in this room behind this banner. We're going to be playing 2-5. It's going to be $500 to start, $500 max buy-in, and then after that it is a match the stack game. So usually in these match the stack games, the stack sizes, the depth of the game, it can get quite deep, which is appropriate as we sail the deep seas. And it should be a pretty fun group of folks to play some poker with here, hopping in.
$2-5, no limit, Texas Hold'em on a boat in the middle of the ocean. What could be more exciting than this? Maybe 5-10 or 10-20 or 25-50 or 50-100. But anyway, 2-5, no limit, Texas Hold'em. And here we go. Their straddle is on, so stakes are already on the rise. There's one limper, and we look down at the ladies. Pocket queens, I'm going to raise it up, $45 to go. The straddler and the limper make the call. So 3 ways to a not so favorable flop of ace-6-6 with 2 hearts. Action checks to me. I'm going to check this one back. Turn is a jack of hearts, 3rd heart. Action checks to me once again. Still not loving it. We do have a heart. some possibilities on the river. I'm going to check it back, and that possibility comes home, giving us the second nut flush on the river. Action checks over to me again. Of course, going to go for some value now. I bet $75, but there are no takers.
Button is correct.
In this next hand with no straddle on, there's an early position raised to $15. 3 callers, and we look down at Ace King suited. This, my friends, looks like a prime squeezing opportunity. I go ahead and 3-bet it up to $85. A late position player 4-bet jams for $400. The initial raiser gets out of the way. The second caller of the $15 calls all in for $100, and I did not fly all the way to Miami to get on a boat to go ahead and 3-bet and then fold Ace King suited to a 4-bet, so I make the call as well. Hands get flipped up. The player in late position who jammed all in, he also has Ace King, and the $100 stack has the almighty 6-deuce suited. The flop is clean, but the turn is a devastating deuce. We cannot improve, so we each lose $100 to the shorty, and we chop the side pot with the other Ace King. Love to see the action aplenty here on the WPT cruise. All right, we switch tables, and we are now in for $1,600. This is, as mentioned, a match the stack game. We can top up to the biggest stack. In for $1,600, and in this hand, I straddle. Folds over to the button, who raises it up to $30. Small blind calls. We have Queen 7 suited in the straddle spot. Gotta defend. I make the call. 3 ways to Queen 8, 7, rainbow, top and bottom pairs. Small blind checks, I check, and the button checks it back. Turn is the ace of clubs, second club. Small blind checks. That should be a good card for the initial raiser. I'm gonna check it over to him and set the trap, and the button does not disappoint with a wager of $65. Small blind makes the call. Now, I don't want to just flat call because this rates to be the best hand since there were no bets on the flop. And there is now a flush draw as well as straight draws available. So I'm gonna go ahead and check raise here. Spring the trap, $230. If you would like to continue in this hand, it's gonna cost you that much. Button decides he would like to continue in this hand. He makes the call, and the small blind gets out of the way. River's an offsuit king. We do lose to Ace King. He could have that hand. Also lose to Jack 10, which would have been a double gutter on the turn. But I am not going to just go into timid check call mode. That feels a little too weak. I'm going to try and go for some more value here. I bet $375. Honestly, not too sure about the sizing since we do lose to those aforementioned hands. Not exactly sure if I want to go big, if I want to go small, if I want to go medium. I decide on the medium sizing here. My opponent on the button goes deep into the tank, thinking for quite some time before deciding to fold. So we do not get any additional value there on the river, but dragging a decent sized pot here on the boat, and we move on.
Too bad. I know. So you got 8 King?
Not that good.
Not that good.
This is a very fun table. There are multiple straddles, and in this hand, I have the double straddle on, and there's an early position raise, which folds over to me, looking down at Jack 3 of diamonds. Suited, not connected, but did I mention suited? I'm going to make the call here and defend. The flop does not improve us. I check, and my opponent checks it back. The turn does not improve us either. I check it again, and he checks it back. River does not improve us for the third time, and we are left with Jack high here, so I feel like a stab is going to be plus EB. We're never going to win when we just check it, and he checks down with ace high. I decide to stab for $65, and my opponent goes into the tank again, thinking for a while before deciding he would like to see it. He tosses in the call. I roll over the Jack 3, and my opponent rolls over the King Jack offsuit for the King High call down, which is a successful hero call, and we get shellacked. We get embarrassed. We get whacked in this hand. Called by King High, and it is good. All right, on massive tilt now, and there's 2 limps in this hand before we look down at Jack 8 of diamonds. I'm in a raising mood. I make it $30 to go. Folds back to these 2 limpers who both make the call. So 3 ways to flop. It comes down 6-5 deuce with 2 diamonds. The first player, his name is Glenn. He puts out a wager, extremely large wager of $7. Interesting. The next player to act raises up to $20. I've got a flush draw here. I am not folding. I am calling. Glenn calls behind. Turn, pairs the board, offsuit deuce. Glenn takes it upon himself to lead out again for another $7. This time, that player in between just flat calls, $7, reasonable price. You got me in there, I'm calling. River's a pretty good looking queen of diamonds. We end up with a flush on the river. Glenn leads out for $17 this time. Player in the middle folds. I don't like that price anymore. I want more money in there. I'm raising. I decide to make it $52. It's a very scientific size. I ran it through the solver in my mind and came up with this $52 wager. Glenn thinks about it for a little while and decides he's going to want to see it. He makes the call. We roll it over, and turns out our flush is good, of course, and my opponent shows us the ace-5 offsuit. That's no good. Pair, usually good. Two pair, even better. Not when you're up against a flush, though. Ship it to the good guys. All right, no straddle on in this hand where there is an early position raised to $20. There are two calls before we look down at 9-8 offsuit in the big blind. I'm defending. I toss in the $20. We go to a flop four ways. 9-7 deuce rainbow. That gives us top pair. I check. The initial raiser in early position puts out $25. Everybody's calling, including myself. So still four ways to a turn, which is an offsuit 5. I check. This time the initial raiser checks it back, and the cutoff wagers for $20. The button makes the call, and I'm not liking that price too much. I feel like a larger wager would make more sense for a stronger hand, seeing as this board is pretty connected and kind of dynamic. We have an 8, which makes straights a little bit less likely. We've got a very vulnerable top pair, so I'm going to put in a raise here. Charge these guys in their ridiculous sizings of $20. I'd make it $100 to go, and that turns out is going to be good enough to clean up all these crumb bums, all the stragglers, all the shenanigans. Get out of here. We're taking it down with our pair of 9s. In this hand, the cutoff makes it $20 to go. The button calls, and we look down at ace-queen offsuit. I think we're ahead of a cutoff opening range as well as a button flat call. So I'm going to put in a 3-bet squeeze here. I make it $110 to go out of the big blind. Cutoff, undeterred. He makes the call. Button gets out of the way. Heads up to a flop. It comes down queen 9-5 with 2 hearts. That's top pair, tap kicker for us. I'm going to wager, I bet $125. Not 100% sure about the correct sizing in this spot, but feel like I don't really want to down bet considering there's going to be so many cards that change the texture of this board. 125 it is, and my opponent decides on a call. Turn is an offsuit king, so we are downgraded to second pair here. I check it as a result, and my opponent checks it back. River's an offsuit 7. That feels like a safer card. However, when I check it again, trying to get to showdown, my opponent does not oblige, and he wagers $175. Honestly, was hoping for a bigger sized bet, something a little bit more polar, because that would sort of weight my opponent more towards a really strong hand or absolutely nothing. Feels like he could have some top pairs, maybe even a weak 2 pair. But since we're getting a pretty reasonable price here, we unblock flush draws. I decide I'm going to have to see it in order to get some rest, get some sleep. I don't want to be up all night on this boat wondering whether or not I got bluffed for $175. I toss in the call, and my opponent shows down the king 10 of clubs. That's going to be top pair on the turn. Flops himself the gutter plus the over, which comes home. Seems to make sense. Take it down, dude. In this next hand, the $10 straddle is back on, but it is on the button, which means the small blind goes first, and the small blind raises to $30. There's 2 calls over to me, and we have ourselves the ace-king suited. Feels like a 3-bet spot. I make it $130 to go. The initial raiser in the small blind calls, but the first caller, my man Glenn, he decides to back raise now up to $350. We're having a good time on this boat. We're having some cocktails, but the dreaded back raise in a 2-5 game, usually not all that weak. It's usually something significant. So I'm not just looking to pile in 4-figure amount of money. I'm gonna go ahead and call here, look to take this one to the streets. Small blind gets out of the way, and we are going heads up to a flop. It comes down 9-6 deuce rainbow, which clearly does not improve us. However, the 4-better checks it. I'm happy to check this one back, take a free card. Let's see what happens on the turn. And what happens is we make top pair when the ace of spades, second spade, comes in. He checks it over to me again. This time I am going to be wagering, looking for some value here. As far as back raising hands and ranges go, I feel like we're losing to pocket aces, and that's about it. So I'm trying to get some value here. I make it $225, and my opponent snap folds the pocket kings face up. That's a nice fold, Glenn. You somehow managed to Well, you did give us a free card there, Glenn, I'm not going to lie. But once that happened, you managed to not lose any more additional dollars. We drag in a nice pot here, though. The ace-king comes through versus the pocket kings. In this hand, we look down at the 10-9 suited. Very pretty hand, especially when it's in spades. I make it $20 to go. My man Glenn, he's in the big blind. He wants to play for a little bit more money. $55 to go. I did say a little bit more money. Not a big 3-bet. I'm going to make the call here with my suited connector. Heads up to a flop that comes down ace, king, 6, rainbow. Glenn checks. I got nothing here. I check it back. Turn, we make a pair. Offsuit 9. He checks it again. Now I got some showdown value. No need to do anything other than check it back. River's a 6. Pairs the board. This time Glenn bets $30. And if there's anybody I'm happy to pay off, it's this man in this shirt, having a good old time. I'm enjoying his company. Here's $30. I'm going to need to see it. Glenn, what you got? And he shows us pocket 8s. I can beat pocket 8s. I made a pair of 9s on the turn. We're going to drag this one in, ship it to the good guys, having ourselves a grand old time at the meetup game on the WPT cruise. The meetup game day of poker here on the cruise ship, on the Virgin Voyages WPT cruise ship, is a wrap. Got into the game for $1,700, cashed out of the game for $2,229. That's a victory of $529, which is better than expected considering the above average VPIP, the several beverages had, and just generally good times here with the folks that came to play in the meetup game on the cruise ship. The first ever cruise ship meetup game ever in the history of planet Earth. Good times. So the cruise does not roll on, the cruise sails on, and I'm gonna go enjoy more of the ship. We got Korean barbecue tonight. Tomorrow when I wake up, we'll be in the Dominican Republic. If you want to see more cruise ship poker, if you want to see more poker travels, if you want to see all the above, click subscribe, click like, click all the buttons, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.